I'm Bruce Birk, MD, and fellow of the American Academy of Pediatric Associates, representing Pediatric Associates in the Northwest. And I'm here today with my esteemed colleague, Dr. Scott Spencer, and we're going to talk about
pediatric sleep in the teen year age.
Let's start with, the basics. What can you tell us about sleep that a parent might want to know of a teenager?
Well, it's pretty common to have a teenager that does not sleep well. It's estimated only 8 to 10% of teens even get the recommended amount of sleep.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and 6 to 7 hours is really common, but really we recommend 8 to 9 hours for a really good sleep. And there's many things that can impact. Have you heard this from your patients before?
I've heard there are some things that can impact sleep. What do you think some of those might be?
Well, the circadian rhythm of teenagers really changes dramatically from when they're at a young age. And so it's common for them to need to fall asleep much later. What a lot of teens don't realize is because they do fall asleep later, they end up with a lot of lack of sleep, which can cause some serious symptoms.
Now, does it also affect when they wake up too?
Well, typically they like to sleep in a lot later, but we know with school, that's really not a reality.
Not very reasonable either.
Yeah, and sure they like to catch up on the weekends, but we know from a lot of sleep studies, if they have consistent sleep patterns, weekdays and weekends, that's much more helpful for the circadian rhythm.
Do you think it would be also helpful if schools start a little later?
Oh yeah, we should certainly advocate for that, but until we do, we're just going to have to help these teens try and help themselves. So
now, what are some of the symptoms you have heard from your families that they see when their teens are not sleeping well enough?
You know, it's pretty dramatic. It covers almost a whole wide gamut of what you might think of. Anything from headaches, belly aches, lack of attention, lack of focus, depression symptoms, anxiety symptoms, really quite a lot of things. And this can be quite concerning. You can imagine a teen trying to focus on driving, for example. They are not going to be very good at being aware at the wheel if they have lack of sleep. It also might increase their risk behavior too. They might be more likely to try substances because they are feeling down or depressed, more likely to try things like marijuana, alcohol, even more serious drugs. So.
Impulsivity goes up when you don't get a good night's sleep, huh?
It's true. Adults definitely feel this too. Wasn't long ago we were there.
Now, a family recently asked me, they said, well, I don't really control when my kid goes to sleep. And I gave them some advice on what parents can do. What do you think parents can do? Think of that as the starting point. What parents can do to help their kids sleep.
Yeah, I think it's about recognition. I think if you can help your teen understand really how much it can impact them and help them understand the value of sleep, then hopefully they would be able to motivate themselves to get back on a better schedule.
How about modeling?
I like that. Now, you almost have a teenager. How do you model sleep in your family?
My teenager, for the record, says that he is a teenager. We do a couple things. We also turn off our electronics an hour before bedtime because it sets a good example for him. We have a conducive sleep environment. We have our lights a little dimmed. He has his lights a little dimmed. We try to do activities leading up to bedtime that are a little calming. We bathe. It's calming. We have some tea, sleepy time tea. Love it. So good. A little honey, just a little sugar. Not good before bed, but a little honey in the sugar in the tea. We have a little talk, sometimes a little conversation before bed actually helps to relax the mind.
That sounds good. And other things I've talked to my teens about, it's just the keys of healthy living. Having 3 meals a day, get enough regular exercise, and try to be consistent with your bedtime. And really that should help you have a good night's sleep. Other things, we actually have some great psychologists in our clinic that have gone the extra mile to help a lot of these teens with sleep difficulties. They talk about not taking electronic devices into the bed. We know those teens that absolutely love their books, so if you're just so immersed in the book, maybe not read it in the bed because you're not going to get to sleep if you love your novel. Other things, not eating right before bed. That's a big one, whether it's sugar or not. Just having a full belly might be too much. Or, these teens, they play all the sports. Playing right up to the end of bedtime, that might be hard. Might be still too ramped up.
But the sunshine they get during the day also helps them sleep, right?
Definitely.
And the exercise from those sports definitely helps them sleep.
For sure.
Now, I sometimes talk to my kids about how to take control of their sleep. Do you have any things that you tell the teenagers to help them specifically take control of their sleep?
It's hard to convince a teenager. You know, they are emerging into the world and they have their own mindset. But I think really sitting down and having family communication is important. And I think the more you impress upon them how you felt sleep helped you, that might help a little bit. What other keys or tips have you thought of?
Well, a lot of them seem to have a hard time settling their brain down, I think. They get the blank brain or they get the full of thoughts brain and they just cannot settle. Those legs are kicking, they can't get comfortable. And I spend a lot of time talking to them about 3 basic concepts. 1, music. Soothes the savage beast. Playlists designed for sleep are abundant these days. We talk about guided meditations, apps like Insight Timer, Headspace, things where somebody is talking and there's that nice music in the background. Take a big breath. You're by the ocean. Feel your body relax. Those can be very helpful to help them fall asleep. Also, our psychologists specifically can work to help them make their own sleep meditations. And then I also love, when I was a kid, I would read my kids' books to fall asleep. It turns out I don't like sitting by my 13-year-old's bed reading the books, but Audible does it for you. So they don't call them books on tape anymore, digital media. They'll read bedtime stories to your kids. So if you went into one of those and you searched up bedtime stories for 16-year-olds, you're actually going to find quite a list of things. So I encourage people to use those kind of tools too.
Good idea. I've gone kind of old school too. Just having a blank sheet of paper and a pen by your bed. You have an assignment due. You want to remember something for a test. Don't forget to take out the trash. Well, I'm sure that's something they could easily forget. But whatever it is, write it down so you get it off your brain and it's on the piece of paper and you can just wake up, think about it the next morning.
That's nice, kind of a clear your mind approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I imagine there's some true sleep dysfunctions that we should mention.
Sure. Yeah, well, one common one we know about is sleep apnea. That is sometimes hard to pick up in the teenager because they're sleeping independently. There may not be someone listening to them sleep. Signs of that would be daytime tiredness, frequent night waking, potentially having high blood pressure could also be a sign. Headaches. So these are some things to think about. Snoring is the big one. Yeah, and that's what I was alluding to, and that no one might pick that up. Although maybe it's loud enough to shutter the house.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Some families are very awake and can hear the neighbor's kid.
Exactly. Yeah. So sleep apnea. What else have you picked up?
Well, we've got restless leg syndrome, where you feel you wake up with often those symptoms of not having a good night's sleep, and people around them will notice that they have quite a bit of movement during the nighttime in their bed, and that of course is drenching. It's exhausting. They kind of wake up like they've run a marathon.
Yeah.
We've certainly seen some kids who get very anxious and perseverating on thoughts because they're not getting a good night's sleep. And some of those kids we actually even treat. We medically treat them. We give them medicines to help them fall asleep, get them many nights of good sleep, and then help them get back into their rhythms of good sleep.
Well, I tell you, Bruce, those are some really good concerns, and I think if a parent had any of those concerns, I would definitely encourage them to come and see their primary care doctor here at Pediatric Associates, and we'd be happy to help them.
Sounds fair. Sleep consult any day of the week. Happy to do it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me today on Couch Talk. It's been a pleasure.
Sir. Yeah, definitely.
See you around the office.